I recently reviewed the Simagic P1000 inverted pedals, and in that review we never covered the add-ons, but I did promise that to you in a later show. So I just finished editing the long version of the review, and it came out almost 40 minutes long, and I thought, that's way too long for a lot of people out there. Now, there was a ton of great information, described the way things worked in great detail, talked about adjustments and all those kinds of things, but it was a little long and maybe not for everybody. And I figured, for these pedals, for these add-ons, I really want a quick style review so people who just want to know what they're all about can find that out in a short amount of time. So that's what we're here to do. So this is the P1000 regular pedals, so it's not the inverted, the regular pedals. They go for $519. And honestly, they are almost identical to the inverted version in every single way except for the heel plate and the inverted structure. Now, dating back to my interview with Tyler Wang of Simagic, when they alluded to something that was going to be a little beyond the normal pedal set, I've been waiting forever to find out what it was and get my hands on it, and that was the Haptic Pedal Reactors. These are like mini butt kickers. These aren't like little shakers you're going to find in a PlayStation controller. These are more like mini butt kickers, one per pedal, that are driven by the physics of the sim and give you feedback into the pedals. And we're going to talk all about that in just a second. These pedal reactors, you're looking at $69 per motor, and you need a power supply, which goes for $25, bringing the total up to $232 for a full set as we're testing here. But I do understand you can find them on deal, so depending on your region, you might be able to get the whole setup a little discounted if you're buying 3 at once. In addition to that, we are testing out the PHYS, the hydraulic braking system upgrade, which is going to completely transform the way the pedal feels. For the standard version, you're looking at $179 for that upgrade, and for the inverted version, it's a little bit less money. I think it's $139, but it effectively does the same thing. So we've got the pedals. We've got to do some quick installation. It's covered well in the manual, and it's very easy. Starting with the hydraulic, it basically replaces the elastomer squeeze section that goes down onto the load cell. That whole unit comes out. This hydraulic unit goes in its place, and then you have a combination of the Hall effect sensor along with the load cell combined, giving you the reading or the sensory of the way the pedal works. And then you've got the hydraulic system and the elastomer stack inside that are giving you the resistance, so you can adjust the resistance separately of the way it measures or reads. When it comes to the Haptic Pedal Reactors, they go on real easy. A plate just bolts right onto the back of each one. The motor bolts onto that plate. There's a hole in the base for each wire, and then you plug in the power supply and everything is up and running. It is very simple to make these add-ons. It's completely built to accept them. Now, once they're on, you're going to want to get this installed on the rig. Great thing about the P1000 pedals is they were so smart. They were so smart. They followed the Fanatic Club Sport drilling pattern. So these 4 holes are the identical pattern for the Club Sport, which means 99 out of 100 rigs on the market today are going to be already pre-drilled for that combination. So it was 4 bolts, and these were down on my rig, secure, ready to go. Then we move into the software. Software for Simagic is really easy. You download it. It might have some firmware and some upgrades to the software. It'll do all that automatically. And then once it's all up and running, all you're going to have to do is calibrate the pedals. You're going to have to make sure and double check that section on feedback where you can make adjustments to the volume or the strength of each shaker, gas, brake, and clutch. You can adjust the frequency, and then you can also change the setting if you wanted to from ABS, traction control, clutch bite point, or turn them off individually. Beyond that, you have some pre-done settings for each sim out there, and you are all good to go. Now, let's talk about the way these work and what they do. Let's start with the hydraulic system. A load cell, a spring, an elastomer set, all of these are basically springy type devices. When you press on the brake pedal, it presses. It's a little springy when you press on it. More importantly, when you release it, it's very quick. Like the moment you start to release, it's almost pushing on your foot, pushing you off of the brake pedal. That is typical to almost all sim pedals out there that use springs, elastomers, and even load cells, because they're technically a spring or a spring type device as well. The hydraulic system changes that. So now when you're pressing on that brake pedal, You have a damper, a shock that is reducing the effect of those springs. It is actually kind of hiding or cloaking the springiness of the brake pedal, giving it a much better feel on compression when you're pushing in your foot. It feels a whole lot more realistic than a standard spring or elastomer setup on its own. And then the other part of the hydraulic system is upon release. When you release your foot with a spring under it, it follows your foot. Like I said, it almost pushes your foot off of the pedal. With the hydraulic system, it slows that down. Your pedal can actually come off your foot can actually come off that pedal faster than the pedal releases, which is very natural, which is very much how a real brake system works. And it really taps into those motor memory skills, which is very important in sim racing as well. So when you're driving, that effect basically just makes it that much easier for me to balance. I call it balancing. When I'm trying to do threshold braking, and I know there's this point where it's just right, a little too much and I'm getting brake lockup, a little too little and I'm not getting full braking. And that pressure is just this point where you're kind of changing, and it changes with speed and with weight distribution of the car. Then when we turn in for trail braking, things change the load a little bit. You might get some inside lockup, and you're going to want to be able to feel, again, just being on that edge. I find that with the hydraulic system, with a good heavy-duty load cell system, that I can find those limits perfectly, and this was really helped enhance the pedal. I don't think it'll make you faster, but I do think it'll make you more accurate and make it easier to replicate those results lap after lap, corner after corner. Now, when we combine that with the haptic pedal reactors, and I am going to start with the brake pedal, now you have feedback. So we pay for all that feedback in our steering wheel, force feedback. In this case, it's feedback minus the force. When you get some brake lockup sensation in the game, you're going to get vibration out of the brake pedal. Again, allowing you to back off and quickly correct that mistake, which is essential to getting best lap times. So you combine those two systems and you have a whole lot more to work with when it comes to precision and perfection. The shakers here are very strong, and you feel them really well in your feet when they're being activated. Strong, but I didn't hear them. They don't make a lot of noise, so it didn't really get picked up on my camera too much. Now on the throttle, same sort of thing, but let's focus on traction control. At the moment that you're starting to lose grip with the tires coming off of corners mainly, getting on that gas a little too strong, starting to spin those wheels, you're going to get a vibration, a warning system letting you know that you're probably pushing the car a little bit too far. Now the clutch, it works as a clutch bite point. Its sensation is at the moment that the clutch starts to release the engine from the transmission or put them back together. So when you have the clutch pressed all the way in, the engine is free of the transmission, you feel nothing. But as soon as you start to release that clutch, as soon as it starts to pick up that plate and start putting some energy to the rear wheels, you feel it. And that's going to be good for race starts. Now, when I put all this together and I'm doing some heel toe driving, I don't really feel the clutch bite point. I'm speed shifting or I'm dropping the clutch fully for race starts and I don't really feel it. But I think someday when we get in the future and we have shifters that are locking us out and there's a little more interaction between the game, the clutch, and the transmission in sim racing, I think this is going to be really needed at that point. On the throttle, in iRacing, it doesn't get activated with the Simagic software. I do understand with SimHub you can make it work properly, but I'm actually not going to test that today. But just using iRacing, you don't even get throttle response, so there's really not a whole lot of point. So for me, in iRacing in particular, I think the best setup is probably going to be to get the pedals on their own, get the hydraulic system on its own, and then get the haptic reactor for the brake only. That total price, you're looking at $719, and I can't think of many pedal sets that are going to give you more features than that for $719. I mean, just to get hydraulic pedals alone in general, you're looking at over $1,000 usually. So getting this at $719 with a hydraulic sensation, getting the haptic reactor, which right now, I'm just going to say it, It's almost a cheat for your feet. It gives you all of those cues so quickly, making it so easy. It's right where your foot's pressing on already. You press too hard, you get a vibration, and you know you've gone too hard, and you back off and the vibration goes away, and you know you're at optimal braking. That almost is cheating, but it doesn't do the work for you. It's just giving you the feedback. No force, just feedback. So I think that is the best setup. I think people with R-Factor, Assetto Corsa, who drive maybe some of the older cars that don't have as much traction control and ABS systems built into them are going to probably enjoy having the throttle or the traction control as well. But my favorite combination in iRacing was definitely just with the brake pedal on its own. So I think that tells you how these work, lets you know exactly how it all goes together, the kind of adjustments you can make, and how effective it is in the car while driving. But if you want to get it in even more detail, just watch that full-length review where I do tell you every corner, every way it works, every way I like it, don't like it, and all that. This was just a quickie, and I hope you enjoyed it. So be sure to give this show a thumbs up if you did. Be sure to subscribe to the channel so you can find out when our next video comes out, and thank you for watching. This is The Simpit. I'm Shaun Cole, and I'll see you on the track.